Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be giving you guys my thoughts on what I think are going to be buffs and nerfs that will happen in the near future. I'm predicting that there's going to be a few changes in the roster because of just how people's kits are. After playing this game for a little while, I can already tell that there's something that is strong, balanced, and underpowered and overpowered. Let's jump right into it. Asui, she is in the balance side. Obviously, people might think I'm crazy that she's balanced, but it's just that her kit is annoying, but she's balanced around the fact that number one, she's squishy, and number two, doesn't do a lot of damage. She has high versatility and is obviously annoying to track down and hit, but she is a character I'm sure that will get worse over time as the player base gets better. She's just one of those characters. Feel like she's in a good spot right now. Don't think she's overpowered or underpowered, just annoying to deal with. Bakugou needs a huge nerf. I'd say the only nerf that he needs is maybe a few number tweaks, but overall I would say take his rocket boost where he's able to fly away from 2 charge to 1 charge. I feel like that's a solid enough nerf. It's just that right now, for a character that's a damage type character, he does damage and mobility. Just take his mobility down a little notch, should be okay. And then we have Cinari. He needs a slight buff. His range is so bad. Obviously, his gimmick is he's able to put down electric fences and he can stun lock people a little bit because he's Thunder. He can stun people a little bit and allow your teammates to do more damage to enemies. But overall, his kit needs a little bit of quality of life adjustments. It's just one of those things where it feels pretty bad because his range feels like it's on the short to medium side, like, and on the shorter side of medium too. He needs, I would say, probably just range boost in his alpha ability. If we boost his alpha ability, it should be okay, the one where he shoots lightning fences. I feel like that's a good enough a buff. It's just that right now the range so abysmal, not great. Second thing I would say is ideally it would be nice that when you shoot his pellet it pierces through things instead of just fizzling right off the get-go, because if your bullets hit someone you don't get the orb down, and if you don't have the orb you can't put down the fences. So overall I would say needs a little bit of quality of life change. And then we have our good old boy Shima. Slight buff. He's a character that needs slight buff in the sense that his tracking of his melee skill is a little bit wonky. I wish they made it so that the tracking of certain melee skills when they're running at people, you could steer them a bit better. Because right now the steering of certain characters just feel a little bit off, but overall it'd be nice for him to get a little bit of, I don't know, like say damage reduction, maybe say 5 or 10%, something like that when he goes into his armor mode. Something that makes him either A, beefier, or B, just hit things a little bit more consistently would make this character feel a lot better. Midoriya, slight buff. His cooldowns are pretty atrocious. Right now, I would say the only buff I would give him is make it so his whip has 2 charge instead of 1. He just lacks cooldown, like, immensely. Once his flicks are gone, he's got a Q and an E, which have a really big cooldown. Maybe lower the cooldown or make it so that his E has 2 charges. Something along the lines of that would be a nice little change. Oh, Momo, slight nerf. Very strong. The thing I would nerf her shield bash is so bloody broken. She's invulnerable when bull rushing from the front, which I think is fine. What I don't think is fine is that she is still able to avoid getting stunned when she's hit from behind. Obviously, she takes damage when she's hit from behind, but I do feel like if she's getting hit from behind, it should stop her skill immediately. Because what's happening is she can use her skill, run at people, smack them, 360 and draw lines around them, and she just keeps getting pelted. Some things hit, some things don't hit. And usually she'll be doing 100 plus damage per hit, which is absolutely bananas. But I would say that the only thing that I would change is just make it so that if she does get hit from behind and takes damage, her skill ends. Or let's just say if she takes health damage, the skill should technically end. Only because right now she's able to just ram her face into anything. If she has the health and the shield to be able to tank through anything, she's just wrecking havoc everywhere. That's only the slight nerf I would do. Or maybe just like a slight damage number tweaks on her shields. But outside of that though, Momo, I think she's pretty okay, but a little bit too strong in the hands of the right character. Chaka, I would say needs either balance or slight buff. I would say I want to say balance. More than anything, she just needs a bit of quality of life changes. Her kit feels janky to play, but she does her job well. Ida's kind of in the same vein. I would say he's balanced. He's got a lot of mobility. The only issue is that he is a melee character. But I would say overall, pretty balanced. His cooldowns allow him to be able to traverse through the map, but also do damage. And he can technically change his skills together if you do it properly. So overall, I'd say Ida is pretty balanced, which is not bad at all. Now, oh baby, the next character we have Iuka Kendo. She's actually surprisingly balanced. Now, you might think she's really weak as a character, but that's not true. She's weak as a character in a solo environment where you're not a 3-man stack. If you're a 3-man stack with her, she's actually pretty insane. She allows you to be able to put up a fence or like a wall in front of either your allies. So you can put up a wall and say have a teammate finish off an opponent with their finisher. You can put up a wall and have an ally raise and resurrect a character from behind you. Really good kit. It's just really hard to play her properly because she requires a lot of coordination. But overall, kit's fine, in a good spot. Maybe some number tweaks, but overall, like her design. Ibarra. Balance. Obviously, people think she's very, very strong. And I think she is. Actually, that's not true. Changed my mind. Slight nerf. The thing that makes her a little bit oppressive is her alpha ability. Her alpha ability has a pretty big range and wide range, but it's not only that though, it has a lingering hitbox. So usually what ends up happening is when she hits the enemy with her alpha ability, it causes the enemy to go into iframes right away, sort of like a hard knockdown. But what's interesting is when the enemy gets up, if you shoot the vine in the general direction of when the enemy's kind of getting up and you know where they're going to be, because the vines are so long and so wide, their lingering hitbox actually hits the enemy. But she is balanced around the fact that it does create iframes. She's a little bit too strong, I would say, in the right hands of character because she's got a grapple, an auto revive, good in every range. Overall, really, really strong character. I'd say just needs a slight nerf. Honestly, the only thing I would probably nerf her a little bit in is her health pool. Her health pool is 400, which is pretty damn high. Probably bring it down to 350, and I think she'd be in line with most characters. She does not feel like she's supposed to be a tank character, which I think is okay. But overall, just some slight number tweaks, and I think she should be in a relatively good spot. Buff Hammer, All Might. Jesus Christ. He needs huge buff. It feels so bad to play All Might. His overall character design just does not feel great. His character skill where he can jump just is so floaty, so hard to control the direction. Not predictable at all. His tracking skill where he tracks an enemy and throws a big punch at them, terrible. Even if you track the person down, it doesn't connect properly because people are always moving. And if people are always moving, you can't smack down. I would much rather have it where his skill was a skill where if you hold down the button, he charges, and when you let go, he throws down the punch. That's the way I would fix the skill. It's a decent skill, just needs a bit of quality of life adjustments. The tracking on that skill, absolutely terrible. His tornado skill, it's good. It makes him, invulnerable, which is amazing. It's just that it's not going to hit people. I honestly think that if he's using his tornado skill at higher levels, it should have a vacuum effect. At levels maybe 9, it sucks enemies in at a certain range, and then a little bit of a suction pull. I think that'd be nice. A little bit of quality life changes, needs a definite nerf. Just some, not even know how to buff him. Number buffs, making so his super jump is better to control. I don't know, man. Making so his melee tracking is better. Oh, no clue. Cementos, balance. He is balanced around the fact that he's able to create terrain. He offers a lot of versatility and support. The only issue is people don't know how to play him properly. He's very much a troll character in the sense that he can mess up your teammates as well as mess up the enemy team. It's very much a pile and diff situation. Cementos, very, very good character. Just requires a lot of practice to be able to get good. Because number one, you can mess up the enemy team, but number two, it's one of the few characters that can also mess up your team as well. Next but not least, Mount Lady. She's on the balance, slightly nerf side. I'd say slightly nerf. The only thing I would nerf her down is her giant ability. The ability comes up really, really quickly, which means that she is technically able to have that ability up in every fight, which may or may not be a little bit too overpowered, but overall, the only thing I would nerf her in is just the cooldown of her transformation. She just gets it a little bit too quickly. Overall, nerfing it, the cooldown of it should be a bit better. Tomura, good old Tomura. He needs a slight buff. Our guy needs a buff because everything is so melee-centric. The tracking and the damage of his skills are a little bit wonky. Realistically speaking, he should feel like him, but he does not feel like him. He feels weaker than him, which is weird because they're in the same base character. If he's a melee character and he wants to grapple people, I think I'm all good for it, but the dude needs either A, combo routes, or B, needs a little bit more burst damage, because when he's putting down his decay zone on the ground, it doesn't do a lot of damage right off the get-go, and people can easily get out of that right away, so there's actually no real way for him to do consistent damage except for get good and hit people with his skills. A little bit annoying. He's a slight buff. The thing that I would change about his kit, honestly, is I personally would make it so that his AoE crumble ability has 2 charges or a shorter cooldown, only because that's his main skill, his bread and butter, but at the moment it just feels like he doesn't do a lot of damage compared to the other characters here that do way more damage. Dabi, he's in the slight buff. I'd say slight buff. He's a character that I think needs a slight buff because he's a technical character, which is fine, which means he doesn't fall into the realm of support, healer, defense, speed, or strike, assault, or anything. But the thing that makes him a little bit hard to deal with is, number one, his autos obviously have tracking capabilities, but they do half the damage. Second is his firewall. His firewall negates ranged abilities, but I don't think it negates lasers, which is a little bit weird. Not only that though, when you level up that range ability, the ability has a bigger range, which is nice, but people can walk right into it, and once they're through to it, they don't take any damage when they're not touching the flame. So it just feels like a little bit weird when people are able to enter in your zone and just beat you up for being able to level up your skills to like level 9, which is a little bit awkward. So overall, just needs a slight buff. I honestly think that if anybody walks into his zone, they should take some sort of damage. I feel like that would be a nice little change of life, or quality of life change that you could do to Dabi when he puts up his flame shield wall. If people walk into the flame shield wall, they take burn damage. I think that, to me, makes sense. I don't think people should be able to just like walk through it and stay in there and just pummel you indefinitely. That's how I see it, but overall, slight buff needed. Doga, she needs a slight buff. The only thing that would buff her in her kit is her ability to change into people with her blood-sucking skill. The blood-sucking skill, where she shoots out the syringe to be able to suck blood from people, feels omega bad because she can't really hit that guaranteed, and there's a lot of just delay with her recovery. It's really, really bad as a skill. And not only that though, her character skill, I do feel like her character skill just is a huge quality of life change. It basically says that when she's about to get down, she can suck the blood from an enemy and change into them, which is great, but the problem is if you're getting sniped down, you can't use that skill. And number two, it's so hard to be able in the heat of the moment use it. I feel like that skill should just be like an auto passive. If she gets downed, the first time she gets down, she should just change into the enemy, change into the opponent who downed her. I feel like that would just be a way, way, way better skill. It's just that right now, for her to be able to use her character skill, it's just so hard to do it. Mr. Compress needs a huge, huge, huge buff. His kit doesn't make a lot of sense. He doesn't do a lot of damage. His damage is super jank. His escape ability has a big wind up. Oh my god, his character skill, why would you ever use that? It's just like, when would you ever make sense? When would it ever make sense? The only time it would ever make sense is if you have a really strong character that lacks mobility, say Momo or Ibara, and you want to move with them. But you never really want to move with Momo or Ibara because you're going to have 2 greens on your team. So then what's going to happen is you're going to have other characters, but all the other characters have a level of mobility, except for, say, Iuka. But even Iuka, you get where I'm going with this. Compress just doesn't fit in the team role. Ideally, what Compress should be is he should be a technical character. Instead of Compress being green, he should be technical. If he was a technical character, I feel like that would be such a big buff to him. Only because, number one, he frees up people to play, you know, some strong characters like Momo, Ibara, and Cementos. But all of that though, with in being technical, he increases reload speed, so I would say him being technical might be the buff I would do, but that's obviously not going to happen. So the only way I foresee making him stronger is either make his Q better, because his auto attack is so bad, like make it do more damage or make it bigger, I don't know. Or make it so that his reflect can reflect lasers. I don't know if his reflect reflects lasers, I believe it does, but make it so his reflect truly reflects all range projectiles. Because right now there are certain things that just go through goddamn walls. Bakugou AP shot, an example, goes through walls. His shot goes through Cemento's wall. Don't think it should be doing that. His AP shot can go through Cemento's wall. Don't like that. His AP shot can go through freaking Dabi's flame shield. Don't like that. Jesus, so many things to go through. I don't know if it goes through Mr. Compressor's effect, but so definitely. Oh, buff him up. And then we have Shoto. Shoto feels like he's very balanced right now. Shoto obviously is a weaker version of Bakugou, but he lacks mobility, and even his mobility skill puts him stun lock for a short brief time, which is honestly enough time for people to just pelt you down for free. It's actually pretty nuts how much weaker he is compared to Bakugou. Overall, I'd say these are just kind of the characters I feel like need buffs, need nerfs, some quality of life changes, stuff like that. But overall, this is kind of where I see things are at the moment. Obviously, as the player base gets better, this is not going to be the case for most things, but we'll just have to wait and see how things goes. Anyways, that's the video. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know down in the comment section down below. Do you agree with the list? Do you disagree? Anyways, Japan, sign up. Talk to you guys later. Bye for now.